From lashes for days with the viral Liquid Lash Extensions Mascara to lift and color from their brilliant eye brightener, Thrive Causemetics is the go-to for amplifying everyday looks. Plus, every product is 100% vegan, cruelty-free, and made with clean, skin-loving ingredients that work with your skin. Amplify your everyday. Go to thrivecosmetics.com/shine26 for an exclusive offer of 20% off your first order. That's Thrive Cosmetics, CAUSEMETICS.com/shine26.
A Swift Kick in the Ass, episode 97.
All big changes start with a swift kick in the ass. Join the journey of lifelong friends, John Curran and Tom Stewart, as they make conventional thought bend over and take a boot to the keister. Warning, listeners may notice a force equal to or greater than needed to get your ass moving. A swift kick in the ass, living life on your terms.
Welcome to another episode of A Swift Kick in the Ass. I'm your host, John Curran. My co-host, Tommy, is still out on medical leave, but he assures me that, like the Terminator, he'll be back. Just like my impressions, it may sound a bit hokey, but I choose happiness. That is what I tell myself each and every time I find myself beginning to slide in a bad mood. I choose happiness, and it works. It's simple, but it works. Our emotions are our own. No one else can tell you how to feel. People can tell you through their own words and actions, but you don't have to follow their orders. You know, so often I hear people saying, that so-and-so made me so mad, or, oh, that just drives me up the wall when so-and-so does that. You know, like the grammar police, when someone uses incorrect punctuation, I find myself wanting to correct them by saying, no, they didn't. They didn't make you feel any such way. You allowed yourself to feel that way based on what they said or what they did. But make no mistake, no one makes anyone feel any certain way. Your emotions are your own. Emotions are one of the many tools that we have to help us navigate the world. They are our tools. We own them. They let us know when something is wrong or something's right. But most importantly, they let us know when we need to attend to something. And our emotions can also tell us when not to change a thing because we are perfectly content. Maybe we're letting others borrow our emotions or use them without asking. But we always own the deed. We always have the pink slip. Our emotions are our own. We may empathize with some people, but having the ability to understand and share the feelings of another person is quite different than them owning our emotions. You know, we aren't mind readers, and we aren't actually feeling what the other person feels. That feeling is our interpretation. When people are around us in a bad mood, it's really easy for that bad mood to rub off on us. And I guess that's why they say misery loves company, and why misery is the most democratic of emotions. Oh, look, it's a pity party. Let's go. I'm just kidding. I don't want to join any pity party. Doesn't sound like fun to me. But just because someone else feels something that you don't, that doesn't mean that that's bad or that you have to feel that way. Or not feeling that way makes you some type of bad person. There's nothing wrong with owning your own emotions and not leeching off of other people's emotions. It's okay. Which is why when I see someone posting on Facebook that if you don't shed a tear from watching this or get royally pissed off or some other type of truly negative emotion, then they say, then you aren't human. The hell you say, don't categorize me. I'm beyond definition. I am free to feel how I want. These people would probably get mad if I refused to jump off a bridge just because they told me. But here I am. I'm not jumping. Don't tell me how to feel. I'm in control of my emotions, and I choose happiness. Now, if you want to go ahead and feel sad, mad, or throw some type of conniption, you can stomp your feet on the floor, do whatever you want. Go for it. But don't try to manipulate me with your emotion. And by the way, most of what I just said, takes place in my own mind. I'm not going out there and telling people not to show their feelings. Their feelings are their own, and their actions are their own. It's I'm not going to try to argue opinion with people. Everyone is entitled to feel however they feel. This means that when people are posting these things on Facebook, I just usually keep scrolling. I don't try to feed whatever caused them to write that hogwash. And sometimes I have to admit, I even smile a little bit, knowing that there is a choice in how we feel. And I'm going to say it again. I choose happiness. Now, just because a person chooses to be happy doesn't mean they're oblivious to whatever's going on around them. It doesn't mean that we turn a blind eye to our emotions. It does mean that we recognize and acknowledge our emotions, both good and bad. We respect the emotion, our emotion, and its place in our life. And we try to interpret that emotion and attach meaning to it. Not feeling emotion, I think, would be much worse. Now, as you can imagine, since my lifetime childhood friend Tommy, the co-host on this show, has been diagnosed with brain cancer, and actually this has been going on before he got diagnosed, because it took some time for them to diagnose what was wrong with Tommy. I have to admit, my emotions have been all over the place. And I've had to come to terms with how I was feeling. Even though I choose happiness, I wasn't always choosing happiness. I was feeling a whole wide range of emotions, as anyone would when they're so close to something so horrific. It just so happens that along with my oldest friend being diagnosed with 5 brain tumors, I had other stressors in my life. It seemed like life kept on just happening to a point that I wasn't coping with it very well, and my emotions started to get the best of me. I can tell you that my work began to suffer. Life became much more difficult for me. My relationship with both my wife and my kids, that was definitely stressed. And it just seemed like life itself was so much more difficult. At one time, after coming back from Florida, visiting my oldest friend and really seeing firsthand what he goes through on a daily basis, I have to admit that I felt like crying, like all the time. I couldn't even turn it off. And, usually I'm able to weather the roughest of storms. I've gone through a lot throughout my life, but this really got to me. And I had never sought any type of help before. I've always been able to work things out on my own, and I did try to do that, but I couldn't shake these feelings. I could not shake this emotion. And so for the first time in my life, I sought help. Like most men, I was raised not to show my emotion. In fact, and please don't think horrible about my dad, but once when I was a little boy, I remember this very distinctly, that he held me up in front of a mirror when I was crying and ridiculed me. He said, "Oh, look at the little monkey crying. Oh," and kind of teased me about it. And he didn't remember. I confronted him about it years later when I was an adult, and he didn't remember ever doing that. But I'll tell you, I sure did, and it made a very lasting impression on me. When my grandmother died back when I was in college, and I was also, the timing of her death was back when I was about ready to take final exams. So there was a lot of pressure on me to perform. She died the weekend right before finals. So, I ended up not really crying at her funeral. I felt like I had to be strong for my mom, who was an only child. And I started developing these terrible headaches because of it. I mean, migraines so bad that they would prescribe me, and this was back at the time when Motrin was prescription. They would prescribe 800 milligrams of Motrin for me, and it might help my headache for about 10 minutes. I had a lot of tests done. Nothing really came back, that there was any problem. It was all emotion. And it wasn't until one day when I was driving in my car by myself and I heard the Ozzy Osbourne song, No More Tears, that it really hit home how much I missed my grandmother and how much I was mourning and in grief. And I just let it all out. I started crying. I had the waterworks flowing, and it was so bad I had to pull over to the side of the road. And I just let it all out. I let it all out, all at once. And after that, the headaches went away. They didn't come back. I didn't need any medication for it. I just had to release all of that emotion inside of me. So it's not always possible to choose happiness, but we do need to choose our emotions and deal with our emotions. And yeah, life is going to suck sometimes. Choosing to be happy isn't going to change that. Sometimes you have to just embrace the suck. But I tell you, if you choose happiness, it will help you cope. It will help you recognize that we do have a choice. Emotions are our interpretation of what is going on around us. It's our perception of our reality. Emotions serve a purpose. We need to acknowledge our emotions as well as understand what's driving them. And sometimes it takes some time for us to do that. And we need to be willing to give ourselves that time. And this is where the real choice comes in. We can choose to live with things the way they are. We can choose to live many different ways. We can learn to live with a negative emotion and perhaps sometimes even harden ourselves to a point to where that emotion doesn't bother us anymore. We bottle it up. Or, and we can do what we can, but sooner or later we're going to have to deal with it. In addition to seeking professional counseling, I also began an exercise program. Actually, I began my exercise program long before I sought professional counseling. I had some herniated discs a few years ago. I had 3 herniated discs in my back, and I had to recuperate from that. If you remember previous episodes, I was starting to do push-ups every day. And I've always had exercise as a part of my life, and I know that that's been a great help in helping me deal with emotions, even if it's just walking around the block, taking your doggy for a walk, or playing out in the yard with your kids. Getting out and getting some exercise and getting some movement can help you take the focus off of what you're feeling. And I know how difficult it is to pull away from these negative emotions that we all face from time to time. And exercise does help, but it's just part of the picture here. It's just one thing that you can do. And as much as it pains me to admit that one of my oldest friends is suffering from a terminal illness, and he said himself that he's not going to win this fight. And he's adapting and he's doing the best that he can. I feel for him, and I wish that I could change it. I feel for his wife and his children and his family, people I have known all of my life who are like family to me. I know I can't change it, and I still feel terrible about it. And honestly, starting back and doing this podcasts on my own has really helped me deal with my own emotions over what Tommy is going through. I think that there are going to be times when to grieve, and there are times to mourn, and there's times to cry, and there's times to address and cope with these negative emotions. We're not going to be happy all the time. Happiness is not a destination. Unless you're traveling to eastern Ukraine, where there actually is a small frontline town called Shastia, and that's Ukrainian for happiness. Happiness is an emotion that we can call our own. It's a natural, instinctive state of mind deriving from our own circumstance, mood, and or relationships that we have with others. And throughout the years, being friends with Tommy has brought me immense happiness. Actually, if I'm to be honest, which I always am on this show, I've had a wide range of emotions with Tommy as a friend, as any good friendship is. We've been like brothers. We've fought at times just like brothers do, but we always came back, and we've always been a part of each other's lives. And that's what really matters. It's not just about being happy all the time. So if you're not feeling happy, I suggest that you try to figure out what you can change about your circumstance. There's no sense wasting time or emotion or energy on things that you can't change. It's difficult, but we have to let these things go. It's pointless to try to change something that is beyond our control. We need to do something. Even it doesn't matter how big or little it is. Doing something will help you. It will help take the focus off of the unpleasantness that you're experiencing. And sometimes I think that we get so caught up in our own emotion that we can't really see a way out. So a good way to try to get yourself out of that cycle is to take the focus off of it. And if you're outside and you're enjoying the nice weather and you're walking, even if it's just for a few minutes, that can help take the focus off of the unpleasantness. Take a walk, play with the kids, play with the dog. Don't just sit there and mope thinking that life sucks and there's nothing you can do about it. Chances are there are more things that you can do than you can't do. I'm going to say that again. Chances are there are more things that you can do than you can't do. I know what it's like to feel despair and hopelessness. It sucks. It sucks to feel when you're depressing. And it's very difficult to turn it off. And oftentimes, we turn inward. We start ignoring our friends, our family. We don't call. We don't reach out to them because we basically don't want to make them feel unhappy because we feel unhappy. And that does not help. We need each other. And that's what friends are for. Friends are there. A true friend will be there when you ask for help. And they will do all that they can to help you. Even if it's just listening, even if it's just a shoulder to cry on. Friends, family, people that love and care about you, that can help. What also can help is if you really need to, see a doctor or another type of healthcare professional. You don't have to figure this out all by yourself. If you're having a difficult time and you think you need some help, I think sometimes that's just a really good thing that you can do. As much as I am proud of being independent and self-reliant and being able to figure things out on my own, going through all of this has made me really recognize how much we all need each other and how we hold ourselves back a lot of the time trying to figure these things out on our own when we need to just do whatever we have to do to get through it, to move forward. And there's no shame in asking for help. We can all use help at times. And some might need professional help. It's okay, and there's nothing wrong with asking for help, either from friends, family, or from a professional. In the end, we're the one who's going to have to do the work. We're the one who has to come to terms with how we're feeling. We have to take control of our emotions, and we have to fully own and operate our emotions. We have to do what works best for us, and that's a decision that we can make. We have to own our own happiness. We have to choose happiness. When we receive bad news, just like I received when my father was diagnosed with ALS, or when your oldest friend learns that he has brain tumors, things like that, it does change not only your view of the world, but it changes your world. And note that I didn't say it changes the world. The world does not revolve around us. It might seem like it sometimes, and it might seem like some people think that the world revolves around them. It doesn't. We are a part of the world. But the world was here before us, and most likely it will be here long after we are gone. If you look at the history of our planet, the whole human existence is basically a blip. That puts a lot of perspective on it, doesn't it? Our lives are not that long. So why not choose happiness? Every minute we spend dwelling on the negative, are minutes that we could be happy. So the next time you're feeling stressed or in a bad mood because you've had a bad day or some idiot cut you off on the way home, recognize that you can't control what that idiot does. You can't change others. You can't control others. But you can change yourself. And it's all based on what you decide is best for you. It's your choice. Choose to be happy. Mahatma Gandhi once said, "Happiness is when what you think, what you say, and what you do are in harmony." With that, I'm going to close the show. This is your host, John Curran. Until next time, no matter what life throws at you, keep kicking ass. We hope you've enjoyed this episode of A Swift Kick in the Ass, and that today's topic inspires you to get your ass moving and living on your terms. Please take a moment to rank this episode on iTunes or wherever you get this podcast. Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Visit our website at aswiftkickintheass.com. Have a great day.